Good night, and welcome to Alternate Views. Um, Happy to be here yet again on another Thursday. Welcome to you all viewers tonight. Good night to you, Galbase. Thanks for tuning on this evening. Thank you, Oswald, for your support. We definitely appreciate it. This evening we'll be having Jamal Slocombe on this evening show. So I want to welcome you all this afternoon. Tonight promises to be another excellent discussion. We're looking at the Film and Television Association with the president of that association, Jamal Slocum. So he'll be joining us a little later on this afternoon. But in the meantime, thank you all for tuning in. I want to welcome you to another Alternate Views. Good evening, Sir Alfred Benjamin. Um, Good night, Marian Seeley. Welcome to the show. We're trying to get some persons signing on this afternoon. Because as we say, we're having some intellectual discussion about building out Barbados, building out the economy of this country, and building out the economy of the region. Barbados is no longer insular. We are members of CARICOM and the Caribbean community, and we now have to think very regional. You see Barbados developing some relationships with Guyana, Suriname, um, and these type of partnerships. I mean, even Venezuela. These type of partnerships usually help the country if done properly. So let us dive in this evening. As Mr. Slocum would be here later on. Good evening, Annette. Good evening, Sugarcane King. Welcome to Alternate Views. I want to ask you all to share the link, like the link, and let's get some viewers in this evening. Don't forget to get your questions ready. You can ask your questions on the show as usual. I always welcome the feedback from you. The show is nothing without your contribution. So have your questions ready, and let's have a good discussion this evening. So as always, we pay our respects to our other partners of the Marcia Week Show. So good evening to the Marcia Week Show and to the members who tune in every evening that there is a show religiously onto the Marcia Weeks program. So good afternoon to Caswell and Marcia and the others, Pastor Ferdinand, Dave Weeks. This evening, we'll be having quite a bit of discussion surrounding the work of Marcia Weeks, who is a veteran film producer in Barbados. I know the persons who follow Marcia Weeks' program will be very au fait with the Hush movie, which is her production, and also the Arrow movie, which is being streamed around the island. There were some shows, some productions put on, especially I think it was about 2 Sundays ago, in Independence Square, where we all gathered to view excellent and top tier production right there in Independence Square at the feet of the Father Independence, Arrow. And that movie is a top tier movie. It gets the full ratings from me. So this evening we want to hear what can film and television and movies do for us? What can it contribute to our gross domestic product? Could it be a new and emerging industry that earns foreign exchange for this country? What can it do to help us, given that we are under an IMF program and we need industries, we need avenues that are not so technical, avenues that don't necessarily depend on the traditional education system to create. You don't need a doctor, lawyer certificate to be a film producer, to be a script writer, to be a technical director, to be an actor, and to promote Barbados. 'Cause most importantly, relationships need to be developed to help this country earn foreign exchange. And we'll hear from Mr. Slocombe later on this evening. How can film and television do this for us? Mr. Slocombe is also a recording artist. He sings music. So hopefully this evening we can hear from him also a bit about the music industry and what that can do. We will have another show at some point in time where we have live discussions with um, some musical artists on the show that we can hear directly from them. But I wanted to read a quote from Alternate Views, my book, this book here. Um, Alternate Views is the motivation for the show, and I wanted to take a quote to start this evening show about. So I quote from page 208 of Alternate Views, right, that we need a new society plan, a new society Barbados plan, right? Because 2050 will be here and we cannot be found wanting when those times hit. And as a young progressive thinker, I want to lay the groundwork for a new society plan of Barbados, which will ensure that the country soars the skies of this globe as a champion and not a loser in any sense. So here is the official call for all plans, ideas, and concepts to bring our beloved country up to the standards that we know we can achieve. In this day of information, we have no excuse to be languishing in the doldrums. We have every right to rise and take our place on the world stage. Unless private sources of income are injected into the local Barbados economy, massive voids will be left to plague this country due to the pulling back of government spending in the Barbados economy, and we are seeing that. As we roll on, taxation or increased taxation and further unemployment will be unavoidable due to the implementation of fiscal rules and a return to running permanent surpluses on government books. And as the governor of the central bank said in his report, that unemployment is on the rise. So here's alternate views saying in its publication exactly what the governor of the central bank is saying in his publication. And this book was published in February of 2022. So we have some prophetic writings in the book. But I went on to say that renewed growth in the Barbados economy depends on removing a dense barrier of complex and antiquated government administrative processes, poorly performing government departments, agencies, and state owned corporations as they stand in the way of new projects and new innovations both in the public sector and the private sector. And the reason for the slow implementation rate in the public sector and private sector varies, but it almost relates back to administrative failures in the public sector of Barbados, meaning that the government has to approve on many and most things that happen in the economy, and the length of time it takes actually deters investment into this country. And continuing the quote from Alternate Views, they said that government needs to pursue new areas of development which can provide employment and foreign exchange. There has been some talk about diversification of agriculture, including the production of medicinal marijuana, but to date, there is nothing tangible to show from the benefits of that diversification, given the admission of issues with the banking sector and the provision of banking facilities for persons who are involved in the medicinal marijuana industry of Barbados. And I further the quote by saying that the government should seriously address the orange economy. Right. So here's my idea now for the development of this country: the orange economy. Um, and if I'm being fair and open and honest, we had one political organization last time trying to focus on the orange economy, and that was Lynette Eastman's political party. So Miss Eastman was definitely on to an ideology about the orange economy, um, and I endorse the orange economy. Um, in the space of intellectual property and the cultural arts. Right? So film, television, music, art, um, that's what I mean by the cultural arts. Dance, um, you know, theater. So despite parading Rihanna as a national hero of Barbados, there's little evidence that other young people are being facilitated in pursuing careers in this area. A focus on the orange economy is critical, but at this stage, no effort should be spared in its pursuit. And that is the end of the quote. So this evening, we are focusing on the orange economy and the orange economy as a tool for development. Right? So we definitely want some discussion surrounding the orange economy of Barbados. How can we use social media to further develop other talented Barbadians that we have? As I mentioned, and taking the quote from Alternate Views, besides Rihanna, we struggle to produce international artists on that level that could assist in promoting Barbados. Um, we've made Brianna a ambassador of the country. I can see why something like that would happen uh, because she's in a sphere, obviously being one of the richest female artists, being a billionaire. Um, we can see why the government would want to give Rihanna honor of being a national hero. However, in the act of heroism, we need additional persons because we're looking at industrial development. We're just not speaking of individual development, but we want to how can we create an industry of Rihanna's and the persons who would back her up in making her productions world class and successful. Um, in this area, people tend to see the external factors, which are the artist, which is the end product. But quite a bit goes into the production of a musical artist. You have persons who write the music. If the person doesn't write their own music, we have the beat makers, we have the producers, the music producers. Um, we have the persons who mix and master content. There's the graphic artist who designs all of the artwork. There's the makeup artist. There's the fashion designer as well. Okay? There's the videographer who shoots all of the music videos and give that excellent look. We all like a music video. Um, I myself always wanted to be in a music video, and I got that chance to be in a music video when international recording artist Gigs came to Barbados, and he was in the communities of Barbados, in the city of Bridgetown, Chapman Lane, and Green Park Lane, and in New Orleans. And I was in that music video. This is Gigs featuring Chief Thing, who just had one of the biggest crop over songs. So I'm saying that there's quite a bit of scope. So on that visit that Gigs paid to Barbados, I want to pull up the music video here that you can see uh, what I'm speaking about. But on that video, we got quite a bit of platform. There was another video by a much younger person, Halik Mall, who's attached to ASAP Rocky, who is Rihanna's significant other. And that music video actually cost over $1 million to produce. So you were saying that one music video, how many people actually benefited from such a production? So we're looking at how can we produce an industry of persons. Again, we're looking at film, and I explain film from the perspective of the music video. Um, and also it will go a bit further as well and saying film as it relates to television, as it relates to movies, as it relates to short 5-minute content videos, as it relates to using platforms like TikTok and Twitter and Instagram um, to produce high level content about Barbados. We had some social media influencers. I think recently his name was Warden Meyer, and he toured Barbados. He toured Barbados and gave us quite a bit of publicity. Um, right. So I have a video here that I want to show from Halik Mall, and it's called Verified. So I want you to look at the specs of the music video, look at the production, and to tell me what you think about the good work that is happening in Barbados, and tell me what more can we do for to help the country. So I'm gonna click you on here that you can see it, and I hope you enjoy the good work that was done right here in Barbados.
Yota. Yota, 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 yota. Top. Records.
It's only glory for him.
Delete. All. Chief. Ding.
Tech turns in the black of G, let the seat, so they come call, yeah, she back at me. In no mind, I'm the only G energy, make them complain to the referee. Might as well to die with a dynasty, big like Khan, the Ottoman, ain't much hotter than him. Master the climate control on a brand new wave for hailing from Bridgestone, that's where we stay, Lord. And we don't play, Lord. Money coming every single day, Lord. We heathens, but we still stay, Lord. Try to right away, but it's not for the week. We was in the middle for some weeks. You can hit me up if you want to get naughty. You can bring a friend who free. I can tell the boy I got you. Tell me what you really like. Everything official and verified, ayy. Looking like a deer in the headlights. Homegrown green, got my eyes dilate. Take your whole life off the side screens, dog. Real boss shit in my bloodline. So I don't really worry about night. Why they want step when they know that I get fried? Tell me what you really like. Everything official and verified, ayy. Looking like a deer in the headlights. Homegrown green, got my eyes dilate. Take your whole life off the side skis, dog. Real boss shit in my bloodline. So I don't really worry about night. Why they want step when they know that I get fried?
Yeah. My style so original. I don't sneak this nonsense message up.
Yes. So now that you saw that sample, that music video cost $1 million. $1 million to put all that you saw together. Right. So my point to you is that we had to import the cameraman. We had to import um, the backup dance. Well, some of the well, quite a few of the dancers were local Barbadians, so it aided in terms of paying wages to our dancers or local dancers. So a lot of the persons you saw in the music videos were actually paid actors, right? Along with the paid actors, you had people from the community because, as you saw, the music video was shot directly in Barbadian communities. There was Bathsheba at St. Joseph. Um, we saw excellent views of the cliff in Barbados. We saw where the Barbadian flag was being flown in this music video. Um, and so there were images of London-born towers in the city of Bridgetown. So yes, Gab, it's 1 million Barbados dollars it took to produce that music video, and we are seeing quite a few young artists in music in Barbados making a living and contributing to the Barbados economy by that level of exposure. So I'm saying to you that if we could have a set policy, um, we look at St. Lucia. St. Lucia sponsors what they call a denary segment, where the government actually put resources behind the promotion of St. Lucian, what we call soca or wakat music in Barbados. Um, we have those, or the St. Lucian government promoted their Dennery segment and it took a hold of it. Now in Barbados, our main level of music is having a slight technical difficulty. I apologies for the technical glitch. Yes. So as I was saying, um, if we could have a set policy as it relates to the promotion of new cultural ideals, we have crop over, and our people traditionally focus on soca music, right? Um, but we are looking at producing content and the quality of work to reach on the international level. So why don't our Barbadian artists get more promotion as it relates to marketing, as it relates to technical support, as it relates to studio time, as it relates to incorporating again dancers? As you saw in Halik Mall's video, he had a whole host of backup dancers and extras, and those persons make a living from that, creates jobs and allow for persons to take care of families. Let's not forget that you have the persons who play musical instruments. So the drummers, the people who play the saxophone, the trumpets. So you have an understanding of the industry, right? Um, we have Gal Biz, Pete Biz, sorry, making a few comments. But let me take a few comments from you. Mr. Slocombe will soon be here. Um, So we just give him a chance to tune on. He should be here around 7:30. Square Four says, please and share. Uh, like and share the stream. Invite others to do that as well. So we have 78 persons on so far tonight. So I want to encourage you to send the stream to other persons as well. We'll be discussing film, television, and I add music. As Jamal Slocombe is a recording artist, a very good one at that. So we can keep the discussion rolling. I want to go online here and give you some additional feedback. Um, we're gonna play one of Jamal Slocum's songs. We're gonna play this one alive, um, just to give him an introduction, or so you can see who he is really, and to see some of his work. Um, so yeah.
I got a smile on my face, party till the sun rays. Now ready to jam and break waves. Like a child in a maze, yeah. Drifting away, yeah. Lose myself and no one can find me. I could whine anytime, any day, any way that I want to, any way that I want to. I could whine anytime, any day, any way that I want to, any way that I want to. I feel alive. Soca is forever, jamming all together. I feel alive. Soca is forever, jamming all together. Jump up, let me shake up, shake up. Jump up, let me shake up, hop, let's jump up, let me shake up, shake up. Jump up, let me shake up, hop, let's jump up, let me shake up, shake up. Jump up, let me shake up, hop, let's jump up, let me shake up, shake up. Jump up, let me shake up. I'm feeling I can't control. This moment belongs to the whole wide world, yeah. Like a newborn baby, the music that raised me, the bad man goes crazy. I could whine anytime, any day, anywhere that.
Yes. So that was a brief piece of Mr. Slocum's work. He has a few other songs, but we will let him um, speak about himself on the show. So again, this evening's show really is about the culture side of the Barbados economy. Um, as I began the show, we're gonna get into some of the work of Marcia Weeks as well. Like I explained, she produced the Joseph movie. She produced the Hush movies. She's also director at the Praise Academy of Dance, and they do like spoken word training. They do dance training, and we want to develop the idea for New Barbados. How can we help our cultural practitioners who often go by the wayside? We had the Richard Stoke Teen Talent, and we were saying that the Ministry of Culture is now being very serious about investing in the Richard Stoke Teen Talent. As far as I know, the Richard Stoke Teen Talent has been operating independent of state finances. But I think the government needs to not, I mean, any government. I think policy, we change those words from government, but I think policy should directly impact on our cultural practitioners as these are the influencers of today. Um, we learn about America through music. We learn about America through film, as most of the film that we watch on a daily basis is American type movies. So, film influences Barbadians at a psychological level, in that most of us wanted to go to New York because we see New York constantly being featured um, in television movies. We see the Big Apple, we see Times Square, and our first interaction um, with New York has not really been by going to New York, but it has been on the television. So look at the level of tourism that New York derived from Barbados by just producing movies for us to consume. So on the reverse, um, do we produce movies at a substantial rate, at a quality rate that will be accepted internationally? Um, what about the language barrier? Non-nationals tend to speak about the Barbadian accent and how the Barbadian accent impacts them and their ability to understand or don't. Recently, we had a scenario where the Outer Banks movie was shot in Barbados um, during COVID. However, there was some controversy that they spent more time mentioning Bermuda as opposed to featuring Barbados out and out. We had the Pirates of the Caribbean that was shot in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that brought quite a hefty tourism sum to the country, and persons wanted to visit uh, where the Pirates of the Caribbean was shot because the specs in that movie were excellent, and I would go to St. Vincent after watching Pirates of the Caribbean. So, can we produce Barbadian movies that would allow tourists to want to visit this country? Are we allowing, via policy, the development of new film and television industry that would increase tourism numbers, especially as we're seeking to recover our tourism performance? But I see the man himself here in the background. He will just give me the signal, letting me know that he's ready, and we'll bring him in one time. So I will get him. He's saying he's ready. So good evening to Mr. Jamal Slocombe, the man himself. Welcome to Alternate Views, sir. We're happy to have you. We'll be speaking to you on your official title this evening as the president of the Barbados Film and Television Association. So, welcome, Mr. Slocum. Please introduce yourself to the viewers this evening.
Well, Kimar, thank you, and thank you to your viewers uh, for welcoming me here. I want to thank you for inviting me, Kimar, first and foremost. You know, title or not, I'm still Jamal Slocombe, as most people are familiar with me. Many are most familiar with me in the realm of being an entertainer, having been on many stages in Barbados, whether picking the crop or even just generally singing, as I have been for a child. But I am very glad to be in this capacity as president of the Barbados Film and Television Association. It's a position that I have held since last April, March, April last year. And we've over the last year or so, we've been really working assiduously, really behind the scenes and shaping what we're now seeing as a burgeoning film industry in Barbados. So I'm very glad to participate in this discourse with you. The name is self-explanatory, alternate views, and I think that you would want to be looking at challenging the status quo and how we can explore new ideas to really move the industry forward. I was listening to your preamble. I sorry I couldn't join you earlier. It was quite a hectic day, but it was my business to be here to have the conversation because I'm sure many of your viewers want to understand where the film industry is going in Barbados and what are the opportunities out there for individuals who are going to university, expressing an interest doing further education in the area. But where they're going, and these are some of the conversations that are happening. When we look at what is happening on the global stage, there are loads of opportunities out there, and we look at other industries being able to thrive. And your question may be, what are we doing to address the deficits we have here in Barbados? So I am very excited to have this conversation with you, and I look forward to the discussion tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jamal, for joining on. As you said in my preamble, it would have given the viewers a little bit to think about. It would have also played one of your songs as well. Um, one that had a really nice graphic, alive, feel alive.
Yeah.
Right?
Quite some time. 2019 that was.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Um, so let's start by understanding what the Film and Television Association is about. I could share that it's only recent that I learned about the association from making public comments in the space, but me, much like my viewers, may not have an in-depth understanding about what it is all about. So could you give us another brief soiree as to what really is the Barbados Film and Television Association?
Certainly. Well, we've been here for 15 years. We're not new on the block. uh, we started with Penelope Hynam, who is one of our foremost filmmakers here in Barbados. She started actually as the executive director of the National Trust, and she did excellent work there. But she understood the relationship between protecting our patrimony and telling our stories as people and creating an organization at the time with individuals like Revelino Simmons, who was heavily into the television sector. We also had likes of Andrea King at the time was a part of the association, as well as Lynette Eastman also was involved at the time. So this collective of individuals came together, a diverse group, and decided, look, we need to do something about the film industry in Barbados. Nothing is happening. It was 2008 that the organization they came together and made its decision. In 2009, the organization officially came to life. But from then on, we've been seriously working, assiduously working with government, whether it was the Cultural Industries Development Act, which we played an integral role a part of, or even as recent times as the Prime Minister last budgetary proposal estimates and budgetary proposal, where we would have contributed. Then my then president Revelino Simmons, I was his vice president at the time, would have worked with the steering committee initially to look at how can we build a robust film industry, and from that came the incentives. We're fortunate that we can see for the first time in the history of Barbados some very attractive incentives coming forward. Like many, we would like to see them come on board at a much faster pace because we believe there are hundreds of thousands of opportunities out there and that we're missing with it not being in place. But we're glad they came. And we want to further support initiatives as such to be able to get the industry going. We are an organization of over almost 400 members, 400 active members. They're professionals, whether they're in the ancillary or auxiliary services. And I'll give you what the auxiliary services are. So we know traditionally in the heart of it, we know cinematographers, we know those who are seen as editors, we know those who are lighting technicians, sound engineers, but there are also individuals in the auxiliary service, ancillary services, as I mentioned earlier, who are in the transportation services sector, who also provide assistance in the area of catering. We have individuals who and our membership are carpenters, and people ask, "So why would you have carpenters?" Because there's a specialization in carpentry that allows or invites individuals who are into set design. And we have Daniel Lynch Brathwaite, who is doing outstanding work in Canada, a Barbadian, and she herself is a set designer who came out of the Barbados Community College program doing interior design, but has now transitioned now into the sets of the sets of big movie productions and TV shows. So we are a diverse group. Musicians are also a part of that. We have individuals like Andre Woodvine. Most people know Andre Woodvine as a composer or arranger of many of the songs. For instance, "Hold You in a Song" by John King and Alison Hines. Andre Woodvine is the individual playing the saxophone in that song that we famously know. But many are not familiar that Andre Woodvine is one of the foremost film composers we have here in Barbados. He knows it from top to bottom, and he studied it extensively. So as an organization, we are a diverse group of people, as I mentioned, almost 400 members. We also we're very focused as a professional organization versus a union. So we don't take the format of a union. I'm sure that you'll be following in the US the strike action that happened late last year, that Fran led as the president of a very famous actress. If you watch the Nanny growing up, that I used to watch growing up, but Fran herself
Me,
participated.
Miss Fine, Miss Fine.
Yeah, yes. So you're certainly familiar. You're certainly familiar with her and the work that she has done in the strike actions just recently held.
Okay, so could you yeah, well, with a technical glitch. All right, so you said you have 400 members, right? Um, you give a brief uh, introduction to some of the work that some of your members are doing. Um, so how do your members feel about the film industry at large in Barbados and I would dare say the Caribbean? Um, yeah,
Well, Kimar, I'll say this. I think that, and from a place of sincerity, I think the climate in Barbados right now is waiting to see what is going to happen. I think that there has been a lot of proposals that have come forward, but we're really looking to see what is happening next. I think there's great promise in the industry, but I think at this time there is, and I was having a conversation with one of my subcommittee members recently, Ryan Wilfred, um, who himself is a very outstanding producer and director himself, and it is only till he mentioned it we're having an influx of individuals who have gone overseas and studied professionally up to the first degree level, even going to the master's level, um, and some even looking at specialized diplomas in specific areas within the film sector. And I think a lot of them are coming back home thinking, what can I do to help the Barbadian industry? Uh, I see Neil Hope here, and Neil himself is he would have studied in Vancouver, done extensive work there, came back to Barbados, and really got involved in the sector, and said, look. I want to be a part of what is happening in Barbados. But I am glad that you have looked at it, this conversation, as about its contribution to the Barbados economy. The conversation also always comes back to economies of scale. Barbados has a population of what, 280,000 people, 300,000 people. And, we have to look at how can we not only look at creating our own stories, but how can we get productions to come to Barbados? There is somewhat of a roadblock when it comes to distribution because, as I mentioned, 280, 300,000 people. There are not a lot of eyes that are going to walk into a movie theater to watch a film in Barbados versus that of um, the United States of America. We have millions of eyes. But we also have to look at it from how can we encourage people to become more interested and invested in what is happening in Barbados from a film perspective. How can Barbadians start to feel more comfortable seeing themselves on screen and hearing themselves on screen? You know, and recognizing that, look, this is a Barbadian product and I can support it. We've had so many individuals working on amazing television productions. I can go on and go on. We've had Payday, as you've seen here on the screen. And I remember Stephanie Chase and Phantom Dundee singing the track on Payday. Alison Hines featured. Kurt Brown also featured in the films. These are Barbadians that we already know. We know Marcia Weeks has done tremendous work in the area of film as well. Uh, I remember going to watch Chrissy as a student at secondary school. I think I was in first or second form. So, we've had a period of time where we were seeing a lot of Barbadian films, but that has somewhat slowed down a bit. And I think it leads to question, what is the reason? Um, I must commend the NCF as well as, and Annette Nias was there at the time, Annette, who is now the retired film commissioner. And I remind me to touch on the role of film commissioner a little later. But I also remember that, when you look at the period of which, um, you know, you had badness coming up. There was this underground thing happened. Porgy and Murder also had that season. But we've had recently something that was packaged at a higher level of production. And I think Camouflage, which is just somewhat of I would say a pilot, and it has been screened. A lot of people have been eyeing Camouflage. Many who have been, who've traversed the world and traveled extensively, have said, "Look, Camouflage is the best piece of film art that we've seen in a very long time." And I say film art, from the angles that we shot, the patience and the detail that have been made to that. And I want to congratulate Jonathan Temple. But Jonathan was one who took initiative. He understood that, look, I need to do something because I can't just sit down here and wait on anybody to say, here, hold a little $20,000 as a contribution to your film. You know, the reality is, yes, there were agencies that came forward, and I want to thank for supporting him, especially not only the National Cultural Foundation, but I also want to thank Tourism Development Corporation. Uh, they have really stepped forward and supported that production in a big way. And I think they ought to be commended for that. But the conversation now must be
But
getting
before you go on, you mentioned camouflage, right?
correct.
So what we want to do, I'm going to show um, the viewers two short clips. One of the trailer from the Hush movie, and
Mhm.
then we're going to show the trailer from Camouflage, and then maybe you could give me a artistic analysis above
I'll be
after.
happy to. I'll be
Yeah.
happy to.
Yeah, so let me get the Hush one first, because that's the shorter one. So we're gonna get that one out to the way, and then we're gonna go on the Camouflage, and then ask you to comment on both of them if you wish after. Right.
Wait, what's she really doing with he do her? And the hurtful thing is that she mother does work real hard to send she school. And she bought the place with a nasty scruffy man.
Makisha?
Lord, what's going on with my child? I feel something is wrong, Father.
Makisha is pregnant.
What? Pregnant? Who?
Makisha, what you want me to do about it? I can't do nothing about it.
We can keep it, Tanya.
That was clip one. And then we're gonna go on your recommendation now, Jamal, about camouflage, and then we ask you to resume your comment after review that one. But in the meantime, audience, we are here at Alternate Views. We're having a very good discussion so far with Mr. Jamal Slocombe. He really knows his stuff, and the vision that he's expressing for the film industry and Barbados, the future of it. I can see some very strong economic contributions coming to this country. And Jamal, at some point in time in the show, I want to ask you about the linkages that a buoyant film industry can have for the development of the tourism industry in Barbados. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you camouflage.
Well, welcome to London. We have from Barbados Jonathan Temple premiering
Right, this is the guy Jonathan Temple that you spoke about.
the pilot for his dramatic thriller series Camouflage, with the help of His Excellency Mr. Milton Innes, High Commissioner to the United Kingdom for Barbados.
It did really kind of take me back by just how graphic, how detailed, how intricate it was, powerful and compelling, and really well done. So I was shocked, but in a positive way.
Yeah, is that the first time you've seen Barbados depicted like that on the screen?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought as much. So I definitely haven't seen. I can't wait for the rest of it now. I'm kind of like on tender hooks. Like what happened? And overall, you enjoyed it.
I loved it. I'm going to be talking about it next, like all the time. So I'm really thrilled, and yeah, can't wait to see more.
Brilliant.
I thought it was going to be more gratuitous, if I may say so, on the. But what I gather from it is a kind of in the end, a moral story.
Yeah.
And it's showing a spotlight on how desensitized we are to crime in our culture, and making us think through that.
But everywhere there's crime, right? So there's always that other side.
Absolutely. But I think it works so well on a kind of creative story level. That some of the best stories are when you put something with like Agatha Christie, one of our crime writers, always set her crimes in beautiful places.
I think he's a mysterious man, Jonathan.
He is mysterious, but I assure you, he's a very down-to-earth guy.
He's got a good heart, and that's it. And then, like you said, there's that message behind it, which is all about those good values at the root of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I really love the aspect and the message, which is one of the four messages at the forefront of the whole social media thing, our technology, how there was someone on the road and people were like filming it, which is so true. Tying that kind of really modern narrative into something that we know happens, like street crime and all of that stuff. I wouldn't have put those two together, and it works so well, clearly. Yeah. I came in blind, and sometimes that's the best because you can just come in and enjoy it without expectations. Yeah. But now that I've seen it, for the next thing, I'm like, okay, cool. I know he set the bar now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And just for a proof of concept, this is great.
Absolutely. I don't think there was it was glorified violence in any way. I thought it was actually, showcasing the stark realities of what it's like to be, in marginalized neighborhoods and in, a kind of class of society where you do have all of these types of issues and, challenges and obstacles that you have to deal with, and what people need to do in order to fund themselves as well and live in this society, which is deeply unequal.
Well, that's it. Like you say, a lot of people, they think of the Caribbean, they think of the sun, sea, and sand and cocktails, and that's about it. But this definitely is eye-opening. Are you into crime thrillers or anything of that nature ordinarily?
Not necessarily, but this was really good. This was surpassed my expectations. It was intriguing.
Yeah.
It left me with a cliffhanger. I want to see more of it.
And have you got Caribbean roots yourself?
Yes, my dad's from Barbados and my mom's from Jamaica. So, yeah.
Have you ever had an insight into the kind of darker side of Barbados, aside from the sun, sea, and sand?
No, I haven't. So this was like, wow, does this exist? Is this, is this based on anything? But yeah, it was interesting.
So you enjoyed it overall?
I loved it overall. Jonathan and the team have done a great job, and I'm just really looking forward to more of it. It was so exciting.
It is all about Barbados. We're flying the flag for Barbados tonight. We really are. What were you expecting from tonight? What were you expecting the whole storyline to be about?
It just exceeded my expectations.
Quality was phenomenal, I must say.
Absolutely. The camera work, the quality. Even I saw some actors that I didn't even know were actors. Shout out to Ruby Tech. Shout out to Jason Cave. Shout out to Matt Neal that I've known from the music industry back home in Barbados. They just did a phenomenal job. Mongrel, can't wait to work with you.
It really did leave you on the edge of your seats tonight.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
Really, really kind of bringing out the talent from Barbados. So we really look forward to seeing that.
I am so excited. I am filled with so much vigor.
Eye-opening to see a different side of Barbados and definitely not the side that we're used to seeing in the media and stuff. But I really enjoyed it. I liked being exposed to that and just the gritty side of it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the next episode. And I could watch that one again.
So overall, you enjoyed it?
Yes, Jamal.
Well, you
that
saw
is-
at the end of the credits, you saw Neil Hope, and I just was one of the directors, and Neil has also been in the comment section here with us here in Alternate Views tonight. So
Okay.
I have to say hello to Neil as well, especially.
Well, welcome to you, Neil. It was good to see you. You know, this is what Alternate Views is all about. Bringing networks together, getting that exposure. Tonight's show is exploring a very critical area that could contribute to Barbados' development. So it's good to meet persons like Neil Hope and have him on the platform. Maybe we could get him on the platform to come and discuss some of his ideas. But so far, Jamal, I am having an excellent show. I don't know about you, but
I'm certainly enjoying it.
enjoying this conversation. So the floor is yours. Could you give us a comment on the two productions that we saw just now?
Yeah, certainly. Kimar, they're about 10 years apart. Maybe a little more. I think Hush came out in 2013, or it could even be further back than that. You know, you have a case where we have to ask, where have we gone over the last 25 years in this film industry in Barbados? Where have we gone since the first filming of a major blockbuster movie in Barbados, which, you know, really has brought significant earnings for Barbados at the period of time. If my memory serves me correct, it was 1957, I believe. You had Island in the Sun shot in Barbados at the Fort Hill National Park, featuring the gentleman who died recently. Name has evaded my memory, but I'm sure many of your viewers would have had the opportunity to watch that, like I did growing up. At some point, it was actually Harry Belafonte, the famous actor, and Irving Burgee, who was of Barbadian, his mother was a Barbadian, would have contributed to the score of that. As you know, Irving Burgee's relationship with our national anthem is well known. But in 1957, we had Island in the Sun shot here in Barbados, and since then, it seems like there hasn't been anything major that has happened since that point. We've seen one or two things spark that make your eyes twinkle, and you go like, wow. And these are external productions I'm talking about, obviously. Uh, you've had Succession series finale last year done here in Barbados. Many Barbadians had the opportunity to work on that, and that was exciting. You saw Pine Hill Dairy products featured in Succession, something that had millions of people viewing it simultaneously. So you mentioned the opportunity it has for the economy, and from a touristic perspective as well. Film certainly has the opportunity to really take Barbados to a whole different level. We cannot just be seeing it; we have to be doing it, and I think that is where the conversation needs to go. You know, Hush Marcia Weeks, and Hush wasn't the series that she did. I mean, Marcia had Chrissy as well. Chrissy, to my mind, was an outstanding film. I mean, just in November, I saw Chrissy, who Chrissy from Chrissy itself. You know, I was shocked to see this child then that we grew up watching has become a big woman, and we were excited to watch Chrissy. But she recently did Joseph that featured Alison Hines and showing the linkage between the African continent and Barbados. So what are we doing to support these guys? What are we doing to create more opportunities of similar? And I think that is where the conversation needs to go. If we are going to talk about a film industry in Barbados, we need to look at helping our practitioners earn a livable wage. That's the first thing. Earning a livable wage. Because I am certain that individuals like Jonathan, uh, individuals like Ramel Hall, who did extremely good work as well in film. You showed one of his trailers earlier. When you think of all the other individuals that are filmmakers themselves from the perspective of creating their own stories, or are looking at Barbadian stories and telling these stories as well on screen, a lot of them are unable to earn a livable wage. So we have to look at how we can really change the direction of the industry. You also have the flip of this, and I think that's where the incentives are good, but they need to come sooner rather than later, because you have many productions coming to Barbados, but they're bringing in foreign production, they're bringing in a foreign crew. So you do not have a ratio, a defined ratio that incentivizes these people to say, look, if you use 50% of a local crew, you're going to get this percentage off. This is what helps bolster an industry. But beyond that, you have to even look at the investment in country. You can't just say because you use X, Y, and Z, 50% of people this way. They may use a taxi driver, not necessarily a cinematographer, or editor, or production assistant, or coordinator, to be able to allow them to get the opportunity to retool themselves and to upscale themselves. These are the conversations we need to have. I'm always I've Mikey Gabby sang a song called Culture. And forgive because I'm an entertainer, I'm a musician at heart. But having been in the area of media, I'm very passionate experience on the area of film and television. But I want to go back to the point of Gabby's song Culture. He said, how do you expect foreign man to create culture plan? And we are seeing this for Barbadian. We are seeing this play out here. We want to have a grassroots strategy for helping the film industry in Barbados. We can say that these people from all over the world can come and help Barbados create a plan, but we need a homegrown plan. Similar to how we had a homegrown plan for Bert, we want a homegrown plan for the film industry in Barbados. And I think that is where the conversation needs to go. Part of that is because I am realizing that there's somewhat of silos happening, and I want to have the conversation here. I am deeply concerned about infiltration of what is the word I want to use? I'm seeing an infiltration of segregation in the industry that it is deeply concerning. Um, you know, I attended recently a film event And those who were in the room were not the average filmmakers, not the individuals on the ground I am seeing. I am deeply saddened, and I have instructed the CEO of the Barbados Film and Television Association to write specifically to the producers of the event, because you cannot have a national something purporting to be a national activity, and then those in the room are not Barbadians, are not the individuals working day in and day out building this industry. I mean, it is deeply
So,
troubling.
so you're saying that there's elitism
There
in
is elitism in the industry that is
industry.
developing. Um, I don't want to trespass in the waters to suggest that it is an issue of racism, but I do think that it is now become industries, or is rather there's an attempt to make the industry those for a chosen few. And as long as I'm the president of the Barbados Film and Television Association, and as long as I have the support of my membership, I guarantee you that that will not be happening. Because and I'll speak frankly with you, the film festival that has just recently happened, you know, you cannot have camouflage. To my mind, one of the best pieces of film art, as I mentioned earlier, not even making it to this on the selection panel. And yes, the selection panel can make a choice. But again, I say this with a matter of sincerity. You cannot decide to create a film festival purporting to be representing the Barbadian industry and then exclude those who are working tirelessly to build the very same industry. The only Barbadian film of that length and of that magnitude and quality of a production in the last 5 years since COVID in Barbados, and it didn't even make cut. I am saddened and deeply troubled by that.
Well, interesting perspective. If you had to do it all over again, what would have you done different in that regard?
I mean, the reality is, and I say this openly, the Barbados Film and Television Association is now working on looking at its own festival. We recognize that there needs to be a Barbados festival for film. You know, the reality is, I want to see the amazing talents of people like Aaron Yearwood, and his brother Andrew Yearwood, who they did a film, a short that featured Dante Ali. I remember going to the NIFCA, the National Independent Festival of Creative Arts, their film screening in the Daphne Joseph Hackett Theatre. And once again, I want to big up Annette Nias. I mean, I watched The Bride by Neil Hoyt, who was a former board member. I think he served the organization about 5 years ago. That Bride production was phenomenal. I mean, the storyline was excellent. I mean, there are too many young filmmakers. There are too many great filmmakers in Barbados. As modern as Russell Watson, as far back as Russell Watson and the work that Russell has done, excellent work. I'm trying to remember the producer, but there is a film called Auntie that features Marcia Burrows. If you ever watch that, you would be amazed. It's a short. It's not very long, but you know, this is something that shorts can be turned into feature length films. So these are we need to be showing Barbadians on the screen. I mean, I'm not knocking anyone who is going to make an effort, but we need to sit at the table and have a conversation about where we're going with the industry. It is not only an issue that comes at the level of government. We have those who would want to be able to capitalize off of their relationships in the corporate community and extract funding from those who need it the most. That is a concern. You cannot have a case where you're gaining hundreds of thousands of dollars in probably in support for an initiative, and I'm not speaking about the film festival here specifically, but then, you know, those who are on the ground that are really working hard to create these productions, they're being left out. That is a concern of mine, and I've proposed several approaches to film financing in Barbados. uh, sometimes many have Revelino Simmons once presented the idea of a film revolving loan fund, similar to how the student revolving loan works. But when we looked at the intricacies of that, Kimarda, is difficult. You know it is difficult for a small man to pay back a loan within a fluid industry as film, without any clear idea of the return of investment.
Before we, but I don't want to get too deep into the financing part as yet.
I'll leave that to
Uh,
you.
no, I want to hear from you. I really want to hear from you. I want to give you my thoughts on it, but we're gonna get to that probably at the next. I want you keep mentioning this name, Annette Nayas, right?
Yeah.
And when I Google this name, the person showed up here on my screen, and I just want to show the audience what I'm seeing in terms of my screen, um, and a publication called Business Barbados. I enjoy reading Business Barbados. Business Barbados is like we had those big telephone directories before when we had landlines. We would usually have to go into the phone book and search through 1,000 pages just to look for somebody's number. Thank God they had the alphabet system. So if you wanted Jamal Slocombe, or just go to S and pull you up. But since then, we moved on. But in the Business Barbados directory, you have a lot of noteworthy businesses and basically the who's who in the business community in Barbados. And Miss Anna Nias was featured in that publication, Business Barbados, and she says here that Barbados is making strides in the film industry, and a look at the growing number of film products created by local cast and crew, and asks what's next for the film industry. Um, and Nice is saying that the process of filmmaking in Barbados has crawled apace through the decades, starting with the era of such Hollywood location shoots, such as, and you mentioned this, Island in the Sun, 1957, throughout the launch of the new government agency CBC and GIS, which is the Government Information Service in the 1960s, to the current digital age in which the playing field has been leveled due to the affordability and availability of technology and increased access to training, plus exhibition opportunities locally and globally. Um, Continuing to quote from the Business Barbados, Ms. Nice is saying that in recent years, Barbadian residents have been exposed to a steadily growing number of film products created by local cast and crews. Paving the way was the film group, spearheaded by Mahmood Patel in the early 2000s, known for their workshop-based and community-oriented medley of short films entitled The Shoe. I've never heard about that one. In this period, the Arrowborough Center for Creative Imagination embarked on a tertiary level film training program, and the National Cultural Foundation established the Film Desk in 2007 to assist the overall development of the film sector. Um, Through a public-private initiative, the Barbados Film and Video Association was formed in 2011 to lead the sector through lobbying and advocacy, education, and capacity building. These efforts spawned the beginning of an exciting period in which technical and production skills were amalgamated to manifest a plethora of Bayesian film products of varied styles and quality. Shorts and film features, commercials, animation products, documentaries, and more. Highlights include Hit for Six, a fictional story set in the world of West Indies cricket. As you might know, you're a very avid cricket fan, uh, which was produced by Blue Waters Production, 2007. There was Hush 1, Hush 2, and Chrissy, as you mentioned, produced by Step Productions, 2008 to 2021. That was Marcia Weeks and Dave Weeks, the Praise Academy of Dance. We had Payday, produced by Let's Do It Films, 2013. We had Keeping Up with the Joneses, produced by Hal E. Wood, um, which featured Danielle Best, who's one of my favorite actors. I think Danielle is now the director of technical projects at the Caribbean Development Bank, and that was a really good movie. Um, in continuing here, it says that the NCF National Independence Festival of Creative Arts, which is NIFCA, also nurtured the development of original content through its annual film and video competition, in which successful entries have been awarded gold, silver, and bronze certificates. Streams of audiences have poured out to local cinemas, with some degree of pride and satisfaction after viewing well-told stories about family cultural themes that survive the constant cavalcade of North American screen fare. And we made that point earlier in the show that our first interactions with places like New York and the international world was not actually being there, but we saw it on television. So it shows the power that film and television has to increase tourist numbers to an island, because I'm sure that many Barbados only left and went to New York because it was popular on television. And I grew up in the BET era, Jamal, watching AJ and Free on 106 and Park. And I always wanted to, head to those parts of the world to feature in a music video. But as I said, I didn't get it down there, but I was able to be in the music video with Chief Ting and Gigs, Top Boss, that was shot here in Barbados. So yeah, so I just gonna end off here by finishing Miss Nice's quote. I can't read all of this because of a few, so I'm just rolling down to show you thing. But the last point I want to take from here is the contribution by governments to it. So it says here that government has been seeking to bring strategic direction to the emerging high growth sector by providing the appropriate enabling legislation and a fiscal incentive structure that will maximize economic potential. And the Cultural Industry Development Act of 2013-15 was established with a suite of tax-based incentives for the audiovisual sector, and the benefits which are accessible through the Business Development Department at the NCF include, and I quote, duty-free and tax-free concessions specifically on equipment, machinery, and materials for the building of film and video production studios, duty-free concessions for the importation of all film products, staging, and set equipment, a 35% exemption from personal income tax payable by foreign resident individuals or income receiver working in Barbados, provision of a 100% export allowance on profit derived from export sale of books. And I could tell you a bit about exporting books because Alternate Views, the book, is registered. It's actually an international publication, but we could talk about that another time. Screenplays, plays, animations, and musical composition. Additionally, the Copyright Act of 1998 provided a major advantage for companies and individuals registering their work in Barbados, since it ensures the protection of intellectual property rights. Effective management of intellectual property rights is integral to the successful development of the film industry in particular, and the Barbados Independent Film Festival, now in its seventh year of operation, insists on continuing to provide a powerful and dependable annual platform for the screening of local, regional, and international independent films. So, your thoughts?
I think Kimar certainly the Culture Industries Development Act was a good start for the film industry. I think part of that is that we recognize that there was a need at the time for incentives to get things going. Um, but beyond that, I just want to say that Anet Nayas, who was the film commissioner from inception, after that act was established, has been a steward and a pillar for the film industry in Barbados. And it, for a long time, was a one-person operation. A film commission is an entity far larger than just a commissioner. Jamaica has proven it. Jamaica's film commission itself has stimulated significant growth for film in Jamaica. Jamaica has, a very strong cultural appeal. We know it when we see the colors. the Rastafarian colors. We know we see Jamaica. When you think locks, you Rastafari, you think Jamaica. Uh, dare I say, when you think marijuana, you think Jamaica. You think Jamaica. Uh, but
And
the
Bob Marley.
reality, and certainly Bob Marley and reggae music from a musical perspective. Um, but on the ends of that, and it served solo for quite some time with the great weight on her shoulder. I must commend the business development department recently, um, who has been very supportive of the endeavors of film, and that business development department is led by Andre Hoyt. Andre is certainly very keen about film in Barbados, and we've seen a shift in the approach, and we welcome that. Uh, but when it comes to the role of a film commissioner, having had Annette retired since last year, June, we're almost at June again, and still there has not been a film commissioner engaged. That is a concern of mine. Yes, the responsibility for film has been moved to the Office of Invest Barbados, but the reality is, people are still confused of the point of contact. When you are searching to find a film commissioner, or you're looking from an international agency to bring a film production to a country, you're going to search for a film commissioner. And when nobody can tell you who the film commissioner is, that is a problem, because they're going to look elsewhere. And I can tell you as a fact that it's happened already. I can tell you that, there have been a series of productions that have gone to Nevis because of slow responses. Even in the times of Annette, because she was challenged with no staff. We've had a case where we moved across to we are not seeing Pirates of the Caribbean. The recommendation came to Barbados first. Many people don't even know that. The interest was Barbados first and foremost to shoot Pirates of the Caribbean, beyond the other aesthetic things that came to play. Because yes, they wanted a certain look and feel, but the conversation started here and we lost that. So if we are going to take film serious, we need to start with having a proper film commission. That is where the conversation needs to go. You can't be talking about, this multi-million-dollar investment in the burgeoning industry and how it goes without a film commission. So that is where we need to start, and we need to start so expeditiously, because the reality is, I am also aware that there are few film productions that I mean, we as an organization, since this recent absence of a film commission, we've been receiving so many emails, and we've had to pass them off to Invest Barbados, who is now the responsible agency. Uh, I think far too often we have issues with people not recognizing the impact of leaving an aching void. And that is something that we need to look at forthwith, as I said, because we really need to get a film commission up and running. Industry cannot survive. Michigan has one of the most impactful film commissions as of recent in modern film industry, and they have been working very closely with the Michigan Film Industry Association, MIFA, and they've just taken to their localized parliament a series of incentives that would help the film industry in Michigan. Like Jamaica, they have just launched a multi-million dollar fund for film productions, specifically not for not artists that come and apply for a soca song or what. These things are important. Yes, these things are important as well, but film needs a dedicated fund to be able to help the industry move forward. So that paired with the commission, the fund, as well as looking at the commission, these are two of the important things that I just want to highlight from the outset that we need to address immediately.
Here we have, I just wanted to take a question here. We have a question from a Joseph Cadogan, who's asking who is marketing the quality of the actors and actresses in the country, and the filmmakers who are marketing them. Sorry.
I would say that there are a lot of film there are a lot of actors for stage in Barbados. There are not a lot of actors for screen. We have to fix that urgently. uh, Tiffany Amber Williams, Neil Waith, not Neil Hoyt, Neil Waith. There are a lot of news that seem to be in the industry. But Neil Waith, there are two that I'm familiar with. But we've had some here. We have some here like Andrea Allen, who if you look up Andrea Allen has been living in Barbados for over 40 years. Andrea Allen has been one of Barbados's most famous actresses. But Alison Seeley Smith, I mean, Alison C. Smith spent many years working at the National Culture Foundation. After playing on Honey the movie, everybody watched Honey the movie. If you didn't watch Honey the movie growing up in our age group, and I'm sorry to omit those who are probably older than us watching the broadcast, but to the question at hand, who are marking these individuals? No one. That's a problem. That's a reality. The organization, the Barbados Film and Television Association, our mandate is to look at capacity building. We're launching in a few days the Business of Film workshop series, and we're gonna try our best to work with our actors and to be able to increase their visibility. But we have to look at that. There are not enough casting agencies. Anna Greenwich just did a film, the Christmas movie, and I think she did that as well in Nevis, which is having a very burgeoning, a very fast, quickly growing film industry. But we need to look at how are we putting these individuals on screen? How are we creating opportunities for them? This conversation about castings are not restricted just to film, but it is also consideration for this. Also have to look at the fashion industry. I can't see film in silos. I know the creative industry more referred to as the orange economy. In your terms as an economist, Kimara, you will say the orange economy. You know,
Yeah,
it is a collective. You cannot act in silos. You can't just say, I'm going to focus here or focus there. It is a collective approach. So the issue is even beyond for castings go wider than just film. So there's no one Joseph at this present moment doing it, and it's something that we really need to look at sooner rather than later.
right. But that segues into my next question. Um, we have in tourism, we have a director of tourism, our tourism product. Um, you see, remember the lady Petra wrote? She same thing that she did for Barbados. Um, we have somebody here saying we definitely need an experienced salesperson to market our products. What if we took somebody like the likes of not Petra Roach herself, but the likes of Petra Roach? No, but within the film industry, probably the same film commissioner that you suggested, who could then be tasked and be responsible for the quality and the standard of films, ensure that they meet specific guidelines. So maybe connecting with ambassadors of Barbados who are domiciled in um, world cities that have a large film industry. Connect with our ambassadors and have the standard. Maybe Barbados could join some international film associations as well. And maybe you, as the president, could sit on a couple of international boards so that we get our standard, our qualities up, and have that person in the Ministry of Culture, again, using the same concept of the CEO of the BTMI, and have that person go up there in the world and be responsible for the marketing and even financing and putting Barbados on the world stage. How practical is that?
Well, I want to wholeheartedly agree with you and say that it's possible. You know, we can do it only if we try. You mentioned about looking at providing an opportunity for to work with the embassies. We saw that recently in with Jonathan Temple, in the embassy in rather the High Commission, and I want to thank publicly our board director, one of our board directors, who is the chair of the the Business Development Committee in Mandarin, who you're very familiar with.
Yeah. Mhm.
Amanda actually serves on the Barbados Film and Television Association board. But I want to go to the point of what the collective approach. There is a responsibility for of Export Barbados to assist in this regard, to be able to find or to support the export of products like films and other cultural goods, culture and creative goods, and even services. There's also a requirement of the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries to be able to support this. There's also the efforts of Invest Barbados that is required to support this. There is also the BTMI, which you alluded to earlier, which is required to support, as well as the National Culture Foundation. The problem is we're acting in silos because you have a case where there's still no film commissioner. And I, you would, Kimar, forgive me, but it may seem like I'm flogging a dead horse, but the horse is dead because there's no commissioner. We need to take the bull by the horns on this matter because that is the role and responsibility of a film commission. A film commission acts as the conduit in every aspect, whether we are looking at the development of it, whether we are looking at the investment, the internal investment, or we're looking at the export of it. There are agencies out there, whether that have functioning and viable film commissions, whether they're based in a agency like Invest Barbados or in Trinidad, which has a separate entity that manages it. But the reality, the buck stops at the film commission. The film commission is exceedingly important, as far down as the standards of productions that come out. You mentioned that the standards, health and safety regulations also have to be applied on film sets. But there's no film commissioner right now to monitor that. So anybody could just decide they're going to come into Barbados and they're going to film whatever they like and they go out there and put it back up. That's what is happening. And we're going to only take these things seriously when we realize little things happening that make us feel uncomfortable. That's the reality. So we need a film commission sooner rather than later because it is almost like a feeder. All of these agencies would have some level of interaction with the film commission. I don't want to go as far as to say that we are wasting money at this time just doing these things all over the place, but I would say that we are not doing things in a strategic manner. So we are not able to monitor and evaluate our progress. There has been no economic impact study of film in Barbados over the last 10 years. So no one knows the amount of money generated in the film industry in Barbados truly. Because I can tell you, I mean, Tommy Hilfiger did an ad here in Barbados. I've seen a swimwear line recently do an ad in Barbados. These people didn't go through the film commission. I can tell you that's for a fact. But we weren't able to redirect these people in any special way. I can tell you that there was a documentary worked on, I think around November or so, um, uh, that people went through hoops trying to be able to get permissions to do it, to do basic things. The part of it is to also have ease in doing business. We got to see the film industry as a business. Ease of doing business in Barbados is still a serious challenge. And if you think it impacts the areas like the financial services sector and the business sector, we got to see how it also impacts the film industry. It is a business oriented industry, and we have to look at the realities. This is an industry that's generated millions of dollars for other people. Why can't it do the same thing for us? We have to take serious steps, and it starts with having a film commission.
Well, I definitely agree. We hear having New Hope saying that it can bring an easy $500 million of injection into our economy. And as you know, Jamal, we are into an IMF program and we are scaling back on new incentives. Um, Budgets are tight. but we are still in the need of a sector to earn foreign exchange. Um, the legislation on the books seem to be, or that we reference really in terms of developing the industry, is the Cultural Industries Act. So, do you see any room for new laws or new legislation that would help? Any restrictions legally or any? Because I know that there was a film censorship board. Correct me if I'm
So,
wrong.
so let me explain what the Film Censorship Board does. The Film Censorship Board simply sits down in a room and watch movies all day, and approve rates them as R or PG-13, and put it out. Harsh reality. There is a film out of Barbados, 1995 film out of Barbados. I think that there's currently effort to update the Film Act. Um, that certainly will be welcome. But the 1995 Film Act is there. Um, could pull it up quite easy for you. You look at areas of it speaks specifically to the Film Censorship Board. Um, it speaks to powers of the board. It goes on to give classification of film, reconsideration of film by the board, advertising, film exchange license, which we don't talk about, suspension, cancellation, or refusal to renew film exchange license. Offense, it's very limited. It's very limited in scope. I understand that is one that's coming on board, and that would have come out discussions. I'm excited to see it. Um, I know that they've been working hard on it, and I celebrate that. I do honestly want to say that I celebrate that, Kimar. It is something that is long and awaiting. What I want to say, however, is that we need of a more we need to create, and I mentioned it earlier, a homegrown plan when we're approaching this, because yes, we can get a $500 million injection in the local economy, but there are also still some restrictions that we need to look at. It is not going to happen overnight, but we need to take steps now for the future. Let me put this into context. There's something called a sound stage, and I don't know if you want to pull up one for your viewers to actually see what sound stage is, but I think I can describe it.
Yeah.
It's a massive, massive, massive warehouse that you can create sets within this sound stage. It's a controlled environment for you to properly work on productions, whether you're looking at your lighting setup, your sound setup for acoustic purposes, etc. But there's literally no sound stage in this part of the region other than the Dominican Republic of this magnitude. How can we start investing in infrastructure for film like this? Because it helps other people as well, Let me put in the context for you. You mentioned Chief Din earlier. Part of our challenges with our artists, they're also not able to put out films and other productions at a very quick rate. That's partly a soundstage. Soundstage are three times, in some instances, three times bigger than that, with underwater facilities, etc. You know, if we look at investment in this area, and it provides great opportunity. I heard the Prime Minister reference, looking at sugar bonds to be able to convert them. We've seen a similar operation now at Heyman's factory recently, and turning it into a big open marketplace. Uh, we need to see for the long term plans that really help the industry going forward. We got to start working today for tomorrow, and that is where the conversation is. I'm confident in Barbados. Neil said I'm confident us as Barbados. I am as well. Um, and I'm not losing hope. Square four. I'm confident. I believe that we can get things going. Right now, we're in conversations about the linkage between Africa and Barbados and doing a film. I'm very excited about that, and it's going to act as a cluster. But The challenge is we need to look at the infrastructure. That's the third thing I want to add to that list, Kimar, for you. We need to look at infrastructural development for the film industry in Barbados. Big sound stages. That's where the industry is going. And the closest one is in the Dominican Republic.
Well, I remember we had an announcement that, I mean, if we remember, we had the Globe Theater in Barbados, but the Globe has now closed down. We only have the drive-in. Since the rise of the internet, we saw a drastic drop off for people who would attend physical movies to watch, right? When I was in secondary school, they took us to the theater to watch the same Hush movies, to get us anything. But at the click of a finger, I could pull up almost any movie to watch. And in Barbados, we have two cinemas: the Globe Drive-In and Sheraton. I recently went to Sheraton
You can't leave out Lime Grove. Tree.
and Lane Grove. Sorry.
And there's one, and there's a fourth one coming. Just so you know, there's a fourth one coming. Welch's Cinema is coming in the new big complex that you see there.
Ah, well, great additions, right? So when I really look at it, we had, as I said, we had the Globe Cinema Soul on one aspect, so that was a damper to big screen viewing. Um, Back in the times, we had what we call mobile cinema, and the closest thing I see to the mobile cinema or a replication of that mobile cinema is when Marcia Weeks tries to take around the Arabara movie and show it in different locations on um, island. But I thought the mobile cinema, as growing up and hearing about it, was an innovative idea. Taking the cinema to you as opposed to having to leave your home. I went into a mall in Trinidad, a cinema in Trinidad, and this was the biggest screen I ever saw in my life. And there were amenities in there, arcades, gaming systems, and I really didn't want to leave the cinema after having that experience. But when I compare that experience to Barbados, when I go to Sheraton, I just see the infrastructure of the film industry in Barbados. When I look at it, it's not so modern, or it's not very encouraging to really encourage me to not sit at my laptop or not pull up my not pull up a 40-inch TV in my living
Yeah.
room and watch. So what would you say to that?
I I think we have to look at economies of scale, and I mentioned that earlier. Taking into consideration that we have a population of 280,000 to 300,000 people. In the US, you could have a franchise of a cinema, and you have people flocking to the opening of the box offices when the offices open for films. We've seen it recently with the Color Purple. We've seen a wave of that with the Bob Marley movie that is coming out on February 14th. We've seen a wave of that recently happening. What you tend to get here in Barbados is that if we're having this conversation about cinemas, we first got to look at it from the perspective of what are we showing? Is the conversation specific to local films, like the same Camouflage or the Barrow movie or any of Hollywood productions? And I'm glad you mentioned Hit for Six earlier. It slipped me. It was an amazing production by Alison Saunders. Are we speaking about these? Because let me put this into context for you. We have to look outside of Barbados if our filmmakers are going to have to earn money on their own productions. We can't rely solely on the box offices in Barbados. But people will be interested if the marketing is correct, one. Two, people will also be interested if the distribution is done correctly. Barbados needs a measure of distribution for its local productions. It is not a conversation that can only happen at the government agents, at the government level, but it's a conversation that needs to happen wider. So that's the fourth tip that I give you today in terms of points where we need to look at to develop the industry. Distribution. When we look at foreign films coming to Barbados and their impact, we've seen it. We've seen it with Black Panther. Everybody was dressing up Wakanda forever, going to the cinemas here in Barbados. So it shows that people are still interested in going to cinemas if the movie is interesting enough. If there is marketing around it that gives you a measure of excitement, to want to go. But I think as well, we need to have a conversation about how the Caribbean can work together. We always talk about the Caribbean single market and economy. And I think there needs to be an application of that same concept in how we see the orange economy. Part of that is looking at how can we collectively look at distribution for islands like St. Lucia, for islands like St. Kitts and Nevis, for Dominica. There was a great film. I met the gentleman recently. I'm sorry, his film and his name evades my memory, but a documentary that is award winning, but it still requires a measure of distribution. We had Jason Jefferson in Barbados with some outstanding films, the first Barbadian to show at Cannes and to show at TIFF and Sundance. But what other support have we given to him? And that is the conversation that we seriously, that is where the conversation needs to go at this point in time when we're speaking about looking at distribution. Because part and parcel of the challenge is that we have many people saying, I'm not going to create anything because I'm not going to make money from it. And that's because there's no distribution for it. So distribution goes beyond just the local cinemas. It goes beyond just having a big screen to watch. I mean, that is one part of conversation. We look at streaming. Netflix has now, Hulu and these platforms have now taken over. But what are the other streaming platforms, little corners that we can sign distribution deals, that we can sign partnerships with?
Now you said that. Let's look at the changing of film over the years.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started to watch film, I used to watch those tape movies, VCR, right?
Yeah.
And you put in the
Tabbies.
You put in and you had to go to the video shop.
Tabbies video shop.
I when I attended St. George Primary School, I would walk over to the video store that was right there by Sam's shop, and I would rent all of these movies for the weekend. And then we moved up from there. Then we got on to the DVD system, and then we had an influx of DVD players in Barbados. Then we moved from and that's when we had the big back TVs, what you call them, right?
Yeah.
We had the big back TVs. We even had VCRs installed with TVs, and then we moved on from the DVD system. Um, and I'm saying my first ever African movie was on a DVD because the guys used to sell the African movies in Bridgetown, right? After that, then we had the ability now to go online and watch. It's after the DVD system. We had the ability now to go and watch movies online, either on USB or on the internet. Right? You had to download the movies at first, and then we had streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu, and these guys that completely revolutionized the way how we watch TV or the way how we engage with film. So you mentioned just now that we need to look at probably Netflix or so to do international streaming, and I definitely agree. Let's just say we had to add camouflage to Netflix as an ongoing series. I watched Narcos, right? Narcos was one of my favorite too. I mean, I wasn't watching it for just because of Pablo Escobar, but I learned a lot about Colombia's culture.
Go on.
I learned a lot about Colombia's political system during that time, right? So if we could, let's just say, strike a deal with Netflix, Hulu, one of these streaming platforms, do you think it is practical to have the let me not say that. Do we have the capacity to maintain a active relationship with the Netflix and the Hulus and these new
I,
age?
I think it's possible, but I don't think that the conversation needs to be there only. Yes, Netflix is good. Yes, there's a window for opportunity for Hulu and the other platforms. Granted, you can get Hulu in Barbados, and these are some of the conversation. Point number five of the discussion that I want to mention now. We need to look at the barriers for that we have on monetizing platforms and accessing platforms. And that means that we need to upgrade our legislation from a copyright perspective. But let me go back to the point of Hulu and these platforms. Yes, they're important, Kimar. But I think we also need to look at what happened in that period where we had African movies. I don't know if your recollection is there, but everybody in Barbados they watch the African
African
movie,
movies, yeah.
and when you go around Barbados, the people were so excited by this new thing that everybody they're talking the African movie language, and that for me was a period where everybody was excited by this whole African movie concept. I think that we need to treat Barbadian film and Caribbean film similar, right? We need to recognize that there is potential there. In replicating that, why can't Hush be seen as that? Why can't we take find ways in which we can parade it throughout the region and parade it? How many people are in the Caribbean? Millions of people. The conversation doesn't need to be seen only at the American market or the European market. We can look at this diaspora. I come back again to the whole idea of Caribbean integration, the Caribbean single market and economy. It is applicable to film as well, right? This is part of the conversation as well. So, yes, these platforms are important, but we could find ways in which we can monetize our own productions here in this little bubble of the Caribbean, and we can make money from it, and we can earn from it in a big way, only if we create the correct systems.
Well, very interesting perspective, Jamal. I mean, you're having the audience going, man. Yeah, they're loving your contribution tonight. So let's just engage the audience for a bit. And I just want to read some of the comments here from the audience. Um, as Square 4 told you, don't lose hope, Joel. This is the way forward for your time and age. Filming is the way every country is going on YouTube. Many African movies is on YouTube. Young people in Africa making their own moves. I could attest to that because I watch TikTok a lot. You mentioned the point about monetizing platforms. In Barbados, we do not monetize YouTube. So a lot of the YouTube films we had Badness. We got music videos from many of the artists in Barbados, but they're not paid for that work. And you mentioned about a living wage for the artists. So that is important. I saw a guy on TikTok calling himself Rudra Cartel, and he's like a almost a reincarnation of Vibes Cartel in his much younger, darker days. Um, but again, culture, again, promotion, again, education, because I'm getting to see Africa in live stream. I'm getting to see the cultures, you're getting to see different faces. You're getting to see the fact that a lot of The people in Africa look just like us. They interact just like us, despite the language barrier. So film is a borderless activity. Film knows no borders. Um, we watch. There was a Chinese movie. It's called Hustle. The Chinese Hustle. All right, I think it was called. And this was one of the best movies I ever watched, but not a word in English. Right? I had to read the subtitles and the captions to follow the movie. We have a huge anime market in Barbados, where young people aim to watch the anime, and the anime speak Japanese, but they read the subtitles. Um, so could you give us your thoughts there?
Yeah, Kimar. I think I always say that no story is completely new. Now, let's start there. How many times have you seen the Romeo and Juliet story in many different ways? How many times you've seen the story with some person who had a husband or a partner that cheated and broke their heart and then they found true love again? How many times you've seen Narcos in different ways? We've seen Queen of the South in the setting of in the setting of Mexico, Culiacan. We had that setting. So there's nothing new under the sun in that regard. But I want to say, however, that there are thousands of stories here in Barbados that we need to start telling. Hundreds of thousands of stories we need to start telling. I want to know the story of Sarah Angel. I want to know more about the story. Marcia did it on Arabaro. I want to know more about Charles Duncan O'Neill. I want to know more about the Harp Gun and it's coming to Barbados and what that is about. I want to know about the whole idea of King Coffee and the story of Barbados to have a first king and how it started in Spikes Down. These are stories that are yet to be told. I think though that there's no idea of barriers. I think we need to remove that thought about barriers because film is a universal language. Like music, film is a universal language. You watch those movies and you get excited about them. That's why you read the subtitles. Not only because it looks good, because quite frankly they do, but you find it intriguing, the storyline and the direction it goes. People will be intrigued by our stories as well. People, I'm sure that the world wants to know about the Baku and the steel donkey and how this person was a mother Sally and growing up in the village, where that came from. Even the story of Millie and how she gone to Brazil. These are stories that are yet to be told. And as Dave correctly said, it isn't just about having a film commissioner. There's need of a shift in the mentality. We need to see the economic benefits of film. And if we first recognize that, and it's not only a conversation that has to happen at the level of the practitioners, the Chamber of Commerce themselves need to look at film and the potential it has. We need to stop thinking so myopic when it comes to film and its industries and the auxiliary industries because there's tremendous potential there. You know, Barbados and the whole Caribbean now on this jumping wave, excited about climate resilience. Hip hip hooray. I'm excited about it too, and I think it I'm excited from the perspective of the benefits of renewable energy, but I also understand the impact of climate change. I'm not discounting that. I but we need to look at how we are from an economic perspective now, how we can find ways to make Barbados more sustainable. Georgia. Let me give you a classic example there. The Georgian film industry has now given the opportunity for this little area to give plenty work to those who are Georgians in that that county, that area. Putting into context, you have people who are going back to school now to train in specific areas, and this happened in Canada as well too. I just wanted to take note of this. doctors were becoming filmmakers, lawyers were now getting deeper into the area of movie productions. And I want you to look at it as well from a TV perspective as well, because it is not only just the film industry, it is the television industry. Every day you wake up, you watch TV, there are millions of dollars of ads. And Georgia has created somewhat of a little network there, and they're now taking their industry up to a different level. We need to look at it from the the perspective of even schools. How are we going to change the perspective? And I'm thankful that the National Culture Foundation has agreed to support. It may be breaking news here on Alternative Views, but has agreed to support the Young Filmmakers Initiative of the Barbados Film and Television Association, because it is an initiative that will introduce a film club in every secondary school in Barbados by the academic year of 2025 to 2026, where we are going to introduce facilitators in every single secondary school in Barbados to be able to work with our our established teachers during the activity periods to help create an opportunity for filmmakers, young individuals, to understand the power of film. We don't want them to use their devices just to film fights or to engage in any lewd activity. We want them to see the ability of using their devices to say, hey, let's talk about bullying and the impact it has in our schools, anti-bullying. Let's talk about the importance of being good citizens. Let's talk about mental health and wellness. These are some of the conversations that are happening, and the Barbados Film and Television Association is leading the charge there. I see Fire from Jab mention Mahmood Patel, and Mahmood Patel has done it extremely, has created, has been the impetus of which the Barbados film industry has been able to thrive. I just want to say that the conversations that we are having here tonight, I don't want to say we're spinning the mud, but this is something that this conversation has been going on from time immemorial. So, the reality is we have to look at changing the mindset first from an education perspective. So point number 7, education. That is another area that we need to look at. But Kimar, if you permit me,
before you go,
yeah. Mhm.
I want you to tell us about the new drone industry. One, and two. Before you go on to that, we have Bongolese here. Bongolese is a filmmaker. Bongolese
Correct.
had a few movies, and I mean, I love myself a Bongolese movie, right? He had Vex, which is a very
Right.
good movie. Like if you could put some of the names of your movies in the comments, we definitely highlight um, them here. But I learned, I saw in Bongolese movies, I saw Peter Ram, um, I saw Bongolese himself, right? Um, you see, he said we have one here named Real Bad Man, right? I saw we saw Fabian Dandelion Jones, who
Correct.
is in the union. My first
NPW.
interactions, yeah, my first interaction with Saint Fabian was in one of Bongolese movies. Um, Bongolese showed Cricket World Cup 2007, right? Tap them out. Right? He had Tap them out. That's a movie with Peter Ram. I saw Kensington Oval. He gave a relief depiction of Oinafa when Oinafa was trying to get the crime situation under control at the time, and he was given the order to take out those rascals that are terrorizing and robbing all over the place. So he's saying, let me put them on the screen, right? So I saw some cultural themes along with religious theme, and as you know, Bangladesh is a Rastafari. So he put as it on the learn cultural religious theme as Rastafari, and it highlighted the culture in a very serious way, a subculture really, in Barbados, because some people don't believe that um, a lot of what Bangladesh displayed is quite mainstream as it relates to culture in Barbados, but it's a very big subculture that he highlighted for us to see through the movies, and it also had, as I said, some political connotations, as we saw. He given active roles for persons to play that of political figures, and it was very exciting for me to see that. So yeah, so those are my two areas that I want you to comment on. One, the drone industry, given the fact that we know how the showing at first car in the car park there, Warren's some uncle drones flying in the air, and then if you could give opinion on some of what Bonga Lights would have done, that would be great.
I in the first touch Bangladesh because when I get to this drone issue, I could tell they're gonna ruffle a couple feathers. Well, let me start on this on Bangladesh. I think Bangladesh has created what Bangladesh first started is a reflection of what we've seen a continuation of. Porgy and Murder did it. We've seen a continuation with it Badness, and now we've seen it with Camouflage. Bangladesh, to my recollection, is probably the earliest person to have done a film that speaks to the underground culture. Um, I want to say that these are the films and these are the type of series that attract people the most. Why? Because they're relatable. They're relatable. When you can hear a man saying cheese on bread, man, I got my last 20 in my pocket, boy. I ain't gonna go and shoot at Robson, but these. I'm not saying literally this is you want to promote that culture, but it is the harsh reality. It generates a level of awareness to what is happening in the country. It gives a sense of understanding of the issues that people face, the real issues. When you speak about Vex and the storyline of Bangalites and what he created there, it augurs well for us to look at these type of productions. How can we now look at these scripts and do them over again in a way that has more technical expertise? We've seen it here, and let me say this: we've seen The Color Purple, originally starring Oprah Winfrey, a remake just done of it with Fantasia Barrino, Taraji. It also feeds Ciara. Those are in the movie, a remake of a musical. Same thing can be done because we have the technical individuals like Amriali and the same New Hope that was here. We have Ari, who is Ari Barbadian, very as advanced tire there. I could go on. Quasi Anderson. These are people who are members of the organization who understand. Jacoba Vlugman and these individuals. Let's look at how we can remake these productions, look at strengthening the script, doing necessary tweaks, and remaking them. I hope Bangalites can feel inclined at some point to return to active filmmaking in a way that is more, you know, it includes the Barbados Film and Television Association. We are willing and ready to work with you. Um, you first have to register as a member. The process is quite easy, uh, but I think there we could right there and then we could start looking at how we can support that underground culture, as Kimar would have referenced it. But to this drone issue, let me say from the outset that the ban on drones happened in um, and I intentionally did not mention the word administration or government on this broadcast. But the issue pertaining to drones was a ban under the last administration. We are now 5 years into this administration, and after commitment to remove the ban on drones, it still hasn't been done. The importation of drones, rather. We have just seen a big flashy drone show by CIBC, which I complete all of it. Very beautiful drone show, with the hope that we don't go back to fireworks anymore after that great production. But since December 6th, and earlier to that, I was on the Surgical Early Business expressing the concern with the ban on drones. We wrote to the minister responsible for the Civil Aviation Authority, expressing a similar concern, and we still have not received a response on this. There are several issues pertaining to the importation ban on drones that are impacting significantly the ability of our young filmmakers and, by extension, the wider industry from effectively conducting their business. And might I add, it is cutting into their pockets. There needs to be a lift of the ban pertaining to drones. Yes, I understand and I appreciate that there must be a regulatory framework that governs the way that drones are used. We want responsible usage of drones. But you cannot have one law for this body and one law for the next. We need to lift the ban on drones expeditiously, because I'm saying that when I have conversations constantly with individuals like Alec Dre and Christopher Streak, and David Lewis, who previously was on the board in the last cohort, the previous dispensation, when I have the conversations with individuals like Phil Archer, who was one of Barbados's foremost fixers, there is a ban on drones that is significantly impacting the way we go about it. Yes, there is a way that you could get permission to think, but the process is too long. This is why I speak about doing ease of doing business in Barbados. Yes, the IBC would have received permission from the Civil Aviation Authority to fly the drones at a specific height. But I think there were 400, 500 drones that went up in the air for that. But one drone for a man to import to just put across the air to do a nice shot of Barbados, for his productions, it is a challenge that is unnecessary, and I am frustrated at the point on this matter that we still, after many years, over 10 years now, have a ban on drones. I mean, seriously, we must have mature conversation about this, because you can't be saying that you're interested about a film industry and something as simple as drones you can't get sorted out. Get it done.
But Jamal, if you were listening earlier, we started out by taking a quote from Alternative Views, the book, which spoke about facilitating investment in Barbados. And I just wanted, based off what you said, I just wanted to repeat the quote in light of your comments that the length of time it takes to get permissions to do certain stuff. And I said that renewed growth in the Barbados economy depends on removing a dense barrier of complex, antiquated government administrative processes, poorly performing government departments, agencies, and state corporations that stand in the way of new and innovative projects, both in the public sector and in the private sector. And the reasons for the slow implementation rate may vary, but they always relate to some type of administrative failure in the public sector. So, the problem that you just explained to us, really, with the drones, is that there's an active ban on drones at the administrative level, right? However, to facilitate economic activity, um, the administrative departments or they not facilitate that or they were not facilitating the investment really. But for a one-off instance, for CBC, they could have been given the permission to move ahead. Um, at the song of it, it sounds like some type of discrimination going on there in terms of the application of permissions. But let's look at it from a more proactive perspective. Maybe the permission given to CABC could be the impetus now that the Barbados Film and Television Vision Association requests um, a more speedy resolution to the ban on drones, given what we just saw there. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that there's going to be any immediate lift on this ban because of the CIBC display. The BHTA did a similar drone show at Hilton a couple months ago. We've seen amazing drone shots. Those who want to get drones and to use drones seemingly get the opportunity to use it, because we see nice drone shots coming off of on the Independence Day parade, for Crop Over Day, etc. But it seems that we cannot get the usage of drones sorted out for those practitioners. 1 week you apply, you get a response. For those who already have, you get a response a couple weeks later. Some days you get it immediately. That is heightened nonsense. I want to say, and I to all and sundry, and if the powers that be, who are, whether it's those at the Civil Aviation Authority or even or beyond that, I want to say that I am prepared to wrestle this issue to the ground, because you cannot continue to be prohibiting individuals from earning a livable wage from using their drones, when get you can't stop them from being able to use their drones, and then go on to a matter of allowing certain people to do fancy drone shows when a man just want to put up a drone to send a shot overseas. I mean, even still photography, there's Shutterstock and these platforms that people will want to be able to use the drone shots to get area shots of Barbados. It promotes Barbados in a big way. How do you allow production companies to come from hither, thither, yon, and all over the place to come and film a tourism ad for Barbados, but yet still we can't get it for filmmakers to do their production, say in Barbados? It increases significantly the aesthetic and the appeal of the visual appeal of productions. And it's something that I said, and I repeat again, I am prepared to wrestle this issue to the ground, because it is something that has been going on far too long. I do not blame specifically any administration on this matter, but we need to get rid of the bureaucratic system, as you mentioned, that hinders economic growth in Barbados. And part of that is looking at the barriers from effectively doing business in Barbados. And part of that, again, I don't want people to see this as the poo-poo mop industry. Filmmaking is a multi-million-dollar industry. And if we're going to take the film industry seriously in Barbados, we must treat it seriously. We cannot just say that we're taking it seriously. So for the third time, I echo the sentiment. I am prepared to wrestle this issue to the ground. And within the coming weeks, I am prepared to raise my voice further on it, because it's clear that writing is no longer working. It is heightened folly. You cannot have a drone issue. For what's good for the goose must be good for the gander.
Well, Jamal, we've been going for a while now, and this conversation, well, I enjoy this conversation so much. I know the audience and the viewers have enjoyed this conversation quite a bit, and you can see it here from the comments. But for the last couple of minutes that we have, I wanted to touch specifically on music and the music industry. I tell you the two, video and music production. Most recording artists in the world usually use video and film to get their work out there. If not for the music video industry, quite a few artists will be unknown, as people tend to be, yeah, many people in the world who are visual learners. So they retain information by seeing, So they would watch the music video and be more intrigued by the visuals, and then the song would stick, as opposed to the song sticking first, and then we wanted to see the music video. So, as a musical artist, could you give us your perspective on how music is helping, or because we don't want to do an entire music show today, but
I this is a topic that I can even go longer on.
yeah,
But I'm glad that, let me touch on your point. You mentioned at the beginning of in your preamble, you referenced and you actually showed not Chieftain, Halik Mall, a very good friend of mine, his music video for Verified, which people say Verified there because of how he pronounced it, the pronunciation he saw. That production, to my understanding, is probably $250,000. And Halik made tremendous success. And
well, it was more of a not quarter million. I think it was actually in the $1 million range, I believe, at the time. I
well,
don't think.
about domestically, I think it was about 250 to $500,000 on the production, $500,000 on the production. I can't speak to the visual effects because I'm sure that is valued even more because of the attention to detail that
Yeah.
was paid there.
Yes, yes.
But let me say this: it is important that there. I spoke earlier about a collective approach to film, that we cannot act in silos. Film requires music. I spoke about Andre Woodvine earlier. I spoke about the inclusion of makeup artists and set designers, etc. And that, as you appreciate, is an industry that is seen separately. Film must be seen as a collective. We cannot act in silos. I said this specifically because I wanted to. You also mentioned Chieftain. There are people who have made their success, as you correctly said, because of visualizers, or the visual appeal of a music video made you interested in it. Halik Mall is a classic example there. Rico Maserati, whom I had the pleasure to work with at some point, um, also gained tremendous popularity here in Barbados through its visuals. But some may not feel comfortable in saying it, but Marsville himself, a Barbadian artist, had Bang Bim. That viral video went viral all across the region. I remember going to Labor Day in the Labor Day weekend in New York for the big West Indian parade, and everybody bang, bim, bang, bim. The visuals came first with that song. I say this because I am seeing a lack of music videos coming out from Barbadian artists, especially our soca artists. The only way that our music can go forward is by looking with a complete picture. I say this because last crop over, and I touched this specifically, and I want to say crop over music first and foremost. We had people like Ria Lane with her song Arch. We had Center by Grateful Cole. We had Lead Pipe had his song Brain Freeze. We see Lil Rick with his song Pale Pon Me Name I Don't Give a. Uh, but we are not seeing visuals from these artists. But you are seeing Brutal Crankstar, Chieftain, among the other artists, Idea, who is from the Leacock family, the very famous Leacock musical family in Barbados, who have been able to create a
You mean
wave.
Carolyn and James Leacock?
Carolyn, James, Nikita, etc. Idea, the artist, is actually a Leacock. He's a Leacock nephew. Many people don't know that. So when you hear his musical ability and his music, you can hear his musical prowess is something that actually becomes quite attractive. And you could say, oh, this guy actually, his music is quite good. But I say that in consideration to the fact that we need to seriously delve into why these artists are thriving. It's because part and parcel we are seeing visuals to their music videos. Yes, there are some technical things that can be improved, but you have to start somewhere. I would like to see an increase in music video productions in Barbados and the other genres. Kelly Cadogan, an amazing, one of the best jazz singers, uh, to my mind, that we have in Barbados. Excellent music. We need to see more visuals from her. We need to be able to see more visuals from the likes of our artists that are in another realm outside of the dance hall, right side of Red Risa Garns and
Wait,
her amazing group.
pause right there. Know that you said that. I want to show you a clip, right? Non-traditional music, from an old school mate of mine. I actually love her music. An artist called Chris Irie.
I was just
Um,
about to go there. What you go
yes.
ahead.
So I know many people may not know of Chris Irie because she's not the reggae singer, she's not the soca singer, but she has basically her own line and she's touring Europe at the moment. And I wanted to play a session from her, a live acoustic session, brief, not too long, to reiterate your point, because this is the type of innovative ideas that we want to see coming out, and I want to help, and part of helping is to expose and give persons like Chris Irie, a platform where they could thrive in Barbados. So, if the audience would indulge me, I just want to give you a viewership of Chris Irie, and maybe then y'all could give me some feedback. But again, we're speaking to Jamal Slocombe, the president of the Barbados Film and Television Association, and this is actually one of the best conversations that I've had in a very long time. A new space, old conversation, but a new space, new innovative ideas to develop the economy of Barbados. But in the meantime, just taking this session from Chris Irie and tell me what you think.
Himar, if I may interrupt you, I want you to pause this one and allow me to give you ask for a special request. I want you to play Chris Irie's video "Long Time." I want for your audience to see and hear one of the best Chris Irie products that is out there. Her music video for a long time. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, my friend, but it is one of her best songs, and I think Shane Eastman and Alexandra James would have worked on that. Long Time Love, I think it is. You're finding. I hope you're finding it.
Yes, we have it right here. I can play that one for you. Um, yeah, so we can play that one. Jamal, thank you for that contribution. Right, so here is it. I'm gonna play it right now.
There's no, there's nowhere like right here.
Eyes are closed, press rewind, data redefined. It's been a long time with you, with you. I need to know now you're by my side. Feel like all my life I've been on this ride with you. I'm not alone with you. Like I love you in a long time, baby. Say you never had a long time, baby. Feel like the one that I could wait on you. Cause you make me feel like you're my long time love. Never felt this in a long time, love. I could love you for a long time. You make me feel like love you long time. You're my long time love. Never felt this in a long time love. I could love you for a long time. You make me feel like love you, love you, love you long time. Might as well confirm this. Now after time, make a full term this. But it ain't hard to tell. It is what it is. It is what it is. I can love you in a long time, baby. Say you never had a long time, baby. Feel like the one that I could wait on you. Cause you make me feel like you my long time love. Never felt this in a long time love. I could love you for a long time. You make me feel like love you, love you, love you long time. You my long time love. Never felt this in a long time love. I could love you for a long time. You make me feel like love you, love you, love you long time. Ooh, love, you say you love. And I'm telling you, you're my love, yeah. Sitting there, you give me the living I belong for. Ooh, love, can't you couple up? I said, don't time, baby, let we double up, yeah. You know my heart have room for you. You give me the feeling I belong for. You my long time love. Never felt this in a long time love. I could love you for a long time. You make me feel I love you, love you, love you long time. You
Hey, well, there you have it, Barbados. That was Chris, and I know many Barbadians may not be au fait with her work, but at least you see the quality and the level that is international standard that Chris, she has some of the best vocals that I've seen for a very long time in the local space. And as Jamal said, it's not only about soca, it's not only about reggae. Um, so persons like Chris Irie, and I saw somebody speaking about Kelly Cadogan. Kelly Cadogan was my music teacher at St. Michael's. Let me just say that by the way.
I wonder how you did the music.
I did. I did horrible. I couldn't even play the recorder. I was more into obviously visual stuff. As I said on the show before, I always wanted to be in a music video movie. Um, my drama teacher well, no, I never did drama, but we had a drama teacher at school, Mr. Wayne Jordan. And Mr. Jordan also says to me, boy, you know you're a good dramatist. You will make an excellent drama shooter. I don't know where you do come to my class and do some work. But I never I never did, but I always had the idea of getting into film. Actually, I have some projects in the background. It's not a traditional movie, but I mean, y'all will hear about it soon. Alternative views is stepping into the world, and we'll be seeking to collaborate with Jamal and the Film and Television Association.
Well,
But
Kimar, before you go further, let me just say that you are already a member of the film and television community. Your platform signals that you're on the streaming platform online, and that is part of what the film and television industry is about. People who do podcasts or similar, and virtual or online TV shows. So you are a part of the film community. So I don't want to see yourself as nothing less. What I would like to see your registration and your membership form, the Barbados Film and Television Association, because we don't only have full
yeah,
members, but we have individuals who are supporters who can
yes.
certainly become members of the organization as well.
Mhm. All right. Well, we have a very interesting guest signing on. He say, "Hey, I'm late, but I am here." Marcia Weeks. uh, Marcia Weeks, we've been talking about you this evening. We referenced quite a bit of your work. Pete, I'm definitely going to take up Jamal on his offer and sign up to the Film and Television Association. I saw Neil saying earlier that he would like to chat with Bongo Lights. So that is what alternative views is all about, making connectivity. So Neil and Bongo Lights, be sure to connect. I'm sure that Bongo Lights, Neil, Bongo Lights has his cultural place in Bridgetown. Um, And I usually go there and buy food, I eat food, because as we say, Bongolese is a Rastafari. And when I'm eating my Rastafari food, I get it from Bongolese. And even when Umar Johnson came to Barbados, or Umar Erfantunde, he says, it was held there at Bongolese Culture Place, and the place was packed to
Correct.
hear Umar Johnson. So Neil and Bongolese connect, and as Marcia said, we need to give great honor to Bongolese, and we had we had discussion with him. Hopefully, we could get him on the show at some point. Then we put his movies on there, and we had a bit of a discussion surrounding Bongolase's movies. So hopefully, when you get to rewatch the show, you will see um the section that we spoke to Mongolites. But specifically to you, Marcia, we touched on your work. Jamal spoke about Joseph. Jamal spoke about the Hush movies. Then he said it was Christy. Jamal?
Chrissy.
Chrissy, sorry. Yes, he spoke about Chrissy. So we covered some of your work extensively as well, and the contribution that it made to the Barbados economy. We referenced the uh, and compare the mobile cinema to what you're doing in terms of the Barrow movie and showing the areas for economic development through film and television. But Jamal, we are at 9:35. Um, we're gonna speak for another 5 minutes because I know I'm probably taking away some of your time with the music videos and stuff. Um,
Well,
so
I'll close by saying this, and you mentioned Marcy and Dave, but I just want to note that their son, uh, Dan Jamal Weeks, is one of the foremost filmmakers that we have out there flying the Barbados, flying in LA. Him along with Jamal Harding. Most people don't recognize that he's necessary. Dave had Marcia's son because of certainly he doesn't promote that his parents are necessary. The filmmakers that are behind those outstanding film productions that we've seen from Barbados, but certainly Dan Jamal is one of the talented individuals out there we've been in
he,
conversation with
he's a
as the Barbados
SMS
film.
student, by the way. He's a
Oh,
he's a same school
so,
student, by
so,
the
so, so you would know that.
way.
But Danny is one that we've been having conversation with about exploring the avenues of co-productions. Co-productions don't necessarily need to come in treaties; they can come in agreements, and we've been having that conversation. And they've been doing excellent work. Him and Jamal Harding in LA, and we celebrate them and we give them. We wish them all the best as they continue. We hope that they can come back to Barbados at some point and do some music videos for our local artists to up the standard that we have here in Barbados and extend further. Uh, I just want to say as I close that, Kimai, thank you for welcoming me to your platform. Uh, Alternate views. I think sometimes there's a need to have a conversation about how we can explore avenues to really take the industry forward. Part of this is looking at challenging the status quo, and when I say challenge the status quo, I don't necessarily restrict that to the idea that it is government. I say this the status quo from the idealistic perspective that there are barriers in a system, an archaic system that has prevented us from going forward. It is a colonial system that still divides us today, and we really need to stamp that out. Um, I'm excited for the future of the film industry in Barbados. I want to say categorically, as the president of Barbados Film and Television Association, that I am pleased with the relationships that have been coming forward. We've seen interest at a national level in moving the industry forward, um, but we need to move faster. We're losing opportunities every day. Part of that is the lack of a film commission, as I mentioned earlier. We need to take it seriously. We need to get it sorted. We need to look at distribution. One of the other points that I mentioned tonight, we also need to look at aspects of infrastructural development to see what infrastructure systems that we have here. It requires a proper assessment of the standard of equipment we have here. We need to upscale our individuals. Dave mentioned earlier, we need a shift in the economic system. It's beyond that. It is a psychological system, and we need to look at that. And from matter of sincerity, it comes from the level of our education system, which continues to fail our young people. We also need, as I mentioned earlier, to look at this issue of drones. I said it before that we need to remove that ban on drones and look at providing regulations for safe ways in which we can use those drones. Certainly, Kimar, this is a conversation that can go on forever, but I leave the economic assessment of the impact of the film industry in Barbados to you, partly because I try not to trespass into territory, the treacherous waters that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
Uh, I stay in my lane, certainly. Uh, but the little I will say about the economics of film is that there's tremendous potential there for Barbados to lift many people out of the abyss of abject poverty, to be able to give individuals an opportunity to say, hey, this is something that I can have a viable career and I can earn a livable wage doing. But I don't want people to earn just a livable wage. I want people to thrive and do it in a way, a matter of sincerity, and they can fulfill their passions and their purposes. They can turn their passions into profit. And that is what we need to look at. Um, Beyond that, the Barbados Film and Television Association is here to support all. We welcome all, and I just want you to know it is not only just for those who are full-fledged practitioners. We need to look at those who can also help support the industry. We have associate members, people who support the industry. Membership for a very limited time still. We are a 15-year-old organization, but I can say we are resuming our membership due shortly. So it is now free of cost. So you may need to sign up now while you can get the opportunity to, uh, if you're not a member already.
Yeah.
Um, I add this in my final comment that I believe in Barbados. I believe in the talent that we have. I believe that with the support, we can do tremendous things. But we must first have the will to do what is right by our people. We must first have the courage to do what is necessary to move not only the film industry forward, but the by extension the orange economy of Barbados. It has certainly been a pleasure chatting with you, and your audience in the comment section has certainly been wonderful. I've been enjoying their comments. Adrian Hines, as well as Gel Biz and Pete Way, all the individuals who have been commenting here, Oswald as well. I just thank your wonderful audience and thank you for having me as well. I hope it is not the last time I'll be invited, but I certainly had a good time, and I don't regret carving time out of my schedule this evening to be here with you and your audience on Alternate Views.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on to the show. Like I said, this was one of my best conversations, maybe because it's not so hardcore economics, a little more relaxed, but still giving the knowledge, the insights, the different intricacies of the industry. Um, this level of conversation is not really exposed to people. Um, we don't get it from our national broadcast systems like CBC. Um, I think CBC fell down a lot as it relates to helping promote our people. So I look forward to seeing what, not any specific government, but what happens to CBC in a new and modern day. I know it's supposed to be privatized, so let's see what happens there. We got new platforms for exposure. So we don't necessarily need to run home every evening to watch CBC when Days of Our Lives was up, and then the news at 7. We have the internet that you can stream it and then you can go back and watch it. So the world is innovating, is changing, and having this fresh perspective from you as to the historical side, the current ongoings, and the future, and especially the appointment of a film commissioner and a film commission board. These are some ideas that could be taken to the powers that be, just using your words, to help develop a new and fledgling industry. As Neil said in speculation that this new industry could add about $500 million in economic activity to the country, something that's definitely needed, given the fact that we are under an IMF program and we need to earn foreign exchange because our tourism needs to change. We can't just focus on sun, sea, and sand and bringing people here, paying to bring people here on an airplane and pack them up in a hotel. I think that is it. Tourism has gone way beyond. We have somebody asking who watches CBC, but we still have a very aged and elderly population in Barbados who do watch CBC. So there you have it. But Jamal, before you go, I wanted to play one more thing, and I didn't know how come you didn't mention it, um, or you didn't mention the name, but Jackie Opel. Um, I want to play a piece from you here that you sang, Eternal Love, a tribute. We're not going to play the whole thing because it's about 27 minutes, but we just want to get at least a minute or two so that, because we played some people here, so we want to play you to
Chris is
expose.
actually featured in that show, actually, huh?
Yeah. So we want to play you to expose you on alternate views so that person can see that you're actually a practitioner in the field and just not someone who's morphing it. Yeah, someone who's morphing it. So, my audience viewers, look, we have Jamal Slocombe right here. So just give him a watch, and after that, we wrap up. After this brief introduction with Jamal. So just give him a viewing and tell me what you think.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As sure as the sun rises in the east, I know that my love will never cease. Eternal love, eternal love. As sure as the stars rise in the sky, I know my love for you, darling, will never die. Eternal love, eternal love. You and I must be more realistic in whatever we do. When the bad times come along, you must be brave and I'll be strong. As sure as the sea rise, I know my love for you, darling, will forever enjoy. Eternal love, eternal love. Come on, will we do when the bad times come along? You must be brave and I'll be strong and sure as the sea rises. I know my love for you, baby, will never enjoy eternal love.
Kimar, thanks for that.
Yes,
A reminder.
a great way to end the show tonight. You gave me goosebumps just listening to you. You see the audience cheering for you as well. Um,
Appreciate it.
so thank you very much for coming on to the show. This is what Alternate Views is all about. You're bringing a very practical way of exposing the great talent that we have in Barbados. And you saw Jamal's performance, excellent. So when he has a live show, go there, support him, buy tickets. Bring your family, your friends, everybody, and let us help to build a new and thriving industry in Barbados that could be very much well the savior of our future economy. But we've now come to the end of the show. So Jamal, in 1 minute, give us your parting comments, and we'll see you next week. Before we go though, we have um, next week we have on the show a very interesting guest. We'll be having Rashid Griffith, who is an economist by training, and Rashid Griffith will be giving us his perspective. We'll be discussing new and emergent trends in the Barbados economy. Um, so as soon as this stream is over, we will upload Rashid's graphics that he can that y'all can go on and view him. But Jamal, 1 minute. Stage is yours.
Well, I want to take the full minute. I'll just say thank you. I want to thank my board at the Barbados Film and Television Association and the members for supporting me. You can follow us at We Are BFTA on Instagram, or check us out on social media, Barbados Film and Television Association. We have lots coming up. We have the Business of Film Workshop series coming up. We're going to really give filmmakers an opportunity to understand the mechanics of the business of film. And that's a workshop series with some of the best individuals, from David Simpson in the accounting practice, Amanda Reefer on business planning, and planning from, I think Andre Hoyt from the NCF is going to work with us there on grant proposals. We have a really great collective of people from Sana, Allsop included, to help make this work. I want to thank the entire team here at Alternate Views. I see it as a family, and I know that you're building this community of individuals, and I'm certain that the work that you guys here are doing, and Kimar, I want to commend you on the work that you're doing. There are not a lot of young people out there who are taking the chance and even challenging the status quo in a different way than I do. I know that you are one to certainly lobby, and you're, with your convictions, you are certain about what you want to achieve, and what you believe in, and I celebrate that. I think that it was the impetus, or the catalyst for me coming here on the platform today, because I believe that sometimes we need to have the conversation in a different setting, and in order for us to reach all the individuals who make the film industry work, we need to have the conversation outside of the silos. So thank you so very much. Really looking forward to you all working with us and supporting us. Have a good night, and God bless.
Yes, so thank you, Jamal. So there you have it, people. Good night to you. We've now come to the end of our show. Be sure to tune in next week. As I said, we have economist Rashid Griffith, who's based in. So we look forward to hearing Rashid as soon as they click the live off, because we do upload for next week, this week. So we look forward to chatting with Rashid next week. But it was really good to have Jamal Slocombe. So good night, viewers. Thank you very much. This is Alternate Views. Be sure to tune in next week and tomorrow, as well as the Marcia Week show, 7 p.m. Make sure you tune in to the Marcia Week program. As you know, we're on there every other day. So thank you very much, viewers. It was really good to have this conversation tonight, new, innovative, and fresh. And good night to you all. See you tomorrow on the Marcy the Week Show.